Welcome to this devotional tonight, and I'm so honored to do this little presentation that we're doing tonight. And I heard a preacher say one time that when God puts something on your heart strongly, that's the message you're gonna go by. So I had about Jesus in the storm. So I've been thinking about that one quite for a little while. So I'll encourage everyone to go to Mark chapter 4, verses 35. That's the one when Jesus was getting into the boat. He did like a big sermon on parables, and he was like, it's time for us to go to the other side. And so him and the disciples went onto the other side of the boat, and they started rolling. And then all of a sudden, a storm came up, and they were caught in the middle of the storm. And what I want to talk about tonight, about us being, as human beings, being in that storm. A lot of times, like in the book of Jonah, for example, when Jonah was running away, God sent a storm because he was in rebellion. But in this case, the disciples, they got caught in the storm, but they were following Jesus. They were obeying Christ. So a lot of times in our life, when, you have storms that will God will send storms to, spiritually speaking, to try to get you on the right path because you're going in the wrong direction. But sometimes God can send storms just to test you, just to see about where you are in your Christian walk. And sometimes when you're following God, Satan will send storms to try to distract you. He will send discouragement, fear, doubt, whatever he will try to do. And so that's what, to me, what this symbolizes right here, and a symbology, we call that, or symbolism of being in a storm. The disciples were in there. The boat was shaking, and they were fearful of this storm. It was a great storm, and Jesus was sleeping. So just to show you, Jesus was not worried. Jesus had everything under control. And they woke up Jesus. They said, "Do you care if we drown?" And Jesus said, "O ye of little faith." And he rebuked the winds and the sea, and he told them to be calm. And they said, "What kind of man is this that even the winds and the sea obey him?" I heard a preacher say this, and he's right. When Jesus is in the boat with you, you don't have to worry when things go wrong because he's with you. If Jesus is in the boat, you're not going to sink, And so I believe that a lot of times you should trust God when things are not as great as they should be sometimes. When Jesus is with you, things will go good when things are with you and stuff like that. So I encourage you, if you're going through storms and you're in the boat and things are not going the things you want it to go sometimes, and we all get there, in ministry or whatever in our lives, when God called us to do something, you can get discouraged real quick. And, you get a lot of storms that will try to distract you and try to sink you. But as long as Jesus is with you in the boat, things will work out good. And that's what I love about this story. And like I said, they were obeying God. They were obeying Jesus. And they got caught in a storm. Some people think, well, why? If I'm going through things, it must be that I'm backsliding or I'm doing something wrong. And not every case. In some cases, you're following God and you're doing right. Like the book of Job, for example. He was doing what God told him to do. And all kind of troubles came upon him because God allowed it to test Job. So there's times where God will test you and put in storms to see what you're made of. So don't get discouraged sometimes if that does happen. So I encourage you today to go read it and look at that from a good biblical perspective of the storm and stuff like that. And and I think about that sometimes because you're like, man, why things go on like they go on? You ask questions and like, God, why this things happen to me? And he does that to make sure you're ready for the tests and the storms of life. It's an amazing thing how when they went wake up Jesus, they were they didn't have a committee say, okay, who's going to vote to go to wake up Jesus? They just went to go wake up Jesus, So at the same time, don't be fearful to go and wake up Jesus when times of trouble are there. And sometimes we lack faith, just like Jesus told his disciples, where was your faith? Think about it. They saw Jesus do miracles. They saw Jesus do all kind of things. And so all of a sudden now they were doubtful when the storms come. That can happen to us. We can see miracles. We can see things happen. And sometimes, that don't mean it strengthens our faith. Some people it does. But sometimes when you're in these type of situations, you can't get doubtful, even you think you're strong. So, and this also build character in them. This is a lot of people don't realize these storms in your life, they build character in you, you know. And Jesus also allowed this to show what they were made of in their character. So, sometimes God is not trying to knock you down, or He's trying not to destroy you. He's trying to build you up like someone's building a building. So I encourage you that if you are in one of these situations, you got to trust God through the storms. So I want to thank you for listening to me in this little devotion. I hope it was encouragement to you.